Good morning, everybody. This is Coach Ken. It's Healthy Together and feeling great. And this is going to be an awesome video right here as we start things up. Those of y'all that are coming in right now, we are going to be tackling insulin resistance in an incredible way today. We've got Lindsay Venn back on, but we're going to be focusing on GLP-1. And if that's an issue that you're dealing with, maybe you have talk to people about it. Maybe you have found that to be something that people have been asking you about. Maybe you are on a GLP-1. Maybe you're considering GLP-1. Any of those things is going to be relevant to this webinar. So I say webinar, this live. So I love doing this. I hope that you are as well. I hope you're finding I have permission to be able to do this. So I'm always excited to have that opportunity. I want to make sure, let's see, do I have my chats open? Those of y'all that are coming in, I hope y'all are having a great one. We're going to dive right in, and Trent is going to bring her on, and this is going to be available for viewing as well later. So I just wanted to make sure that you know that. So this is going to be a great call. I've just had a lot of conversations with clients of mine. And the temptation, and I say the temptation, I understand, I really do, that the need or the pressing to say, hey, I've got to lose weight. And certainly as it relates to diabetes, I completely get that. And that's one of the reasons that I talk about this and try to help people in this. Is one of the reasons why Dr. G and I, we were diagnosed with diabetes. And she was pre-diabetes, I was diabetic. Getting that diagnosis was it was a punch in the gut. I had hypertension. I'm a cancer survivor. I had a stroke in my optic nerve. I was dealing with migraines. I had so many things as I was in my 50s. I just thought this was what you're supposed to do when you're over 50. You just get sick and it's miserable. But that's not how it has to be. And Dr. G was the one that started us on this journey. And she did that, started on the protocol that we're going to hear about tonight, in reversing that and learning about GLP-1 and how that is connected to your gut and your body. So I'm going to jump right in here. We don't want to waste any more time as we do this. So stick with me right here. It's going to take me just a second to get this set up, and we're going to run this. I'm going to share right here my screen and start Trent going.
Is it Venn Integrative Health or Venn Integrative Nutrition?
Medicine, but yeah.
Venn Integrative Medicine, okay? Third time's the charm. And Lindsay literally works all day, every day with the brightest and best in the world, helping people change their metabolic health, get off their meds when possible, and minimizes suffering. I mean, she is a real life superhero. And Lindsay's going to be talking all about GLP-1 and natural alternatives to it. So, Lindsay, take it away.
You're always too kind, Trent. Thank you so much. And thank you to the crannies for their story, because it's a fantastic story. And we always appreciate the testimonials of where people can get with this. So let me share my screen. As you guys know, I'm very presentation heavy. It makes it hopefully a little bit more educational for everybody when it comes to the topic. And so like Trent said, tonight we're deep diving into GLP-1 hormone. Like he said, you can find me either at Insulin IQ, where I work with Ben Bickman and several others, or Venn Integrative Medicine, just for me. So first, GLP-1 hormone. And for anybody who doesn't know, when I'm saying GLP-1, like Trent said, I'm talking about all these new medications. The Mounjaro, Ozempic, Wegovy, Zepbound, semaglutide, tirzepatide, there's a variety of names for them. Those are the agonists, but what I'm talking about today is the actual hormone that is produced in the body naturally. And this is a really important hormone that should never be villainized. It's essential for life. It's essential for everything that we do. And it's something that we really want to bring to the forefront as a beneficial hormone, if we can do it naturally and in a way that's beneficial without some of the negative side effects. So first of all, it is a peptide hormone, and peptide is another hot buzzword that you'll hear nowadays, but it's a peptide hormone just like insulin, just like leptin. There's several peptide hormones that are familiar to most of you, but it is made in the gut naturally for everybody. It does several things that are very, very important. Like Trent said, to help reverse insulin resistance, it will improve our insulin sensitivity. It will shut down that food noise that he was talking about with the Unimate, for example. It'll help lower some inflammation in the body, which is a primary driver of insulin resistance. It'll lower glucagon. Glucagon is the counterpart to insulin. Insulin tries to bring blood sugar down. Glucagon tries to bring blood sugar up. And so to have lower glucagon helps with blood sugar regulation. And then also it's going to improve our satiety levels. But again, I really want to point out, and this is a strong driver in the conversation today, there's two things I'm talking about here. I'm talking about the hormone GLP-1 that we produce in the body versus the agonist of the medications that you can take either injectably or orally. Agonist is the opposite of antagonist. And so agonist works to mimic something versus an antagonist would work against it. So these are mimicking what GLP-1 should be doing. They're not the true hormone. They are a synthetic agonist to GLP-1. So where does the agonist fit in? So it's not a peptide hormone that is made in the gut. I crossed that off intentionally. So this is a hormone that you can inject, or an agonist that you can inject, that is what we would call an exogenous, coming from outside of the body, that you can give yourself to do all of the same things: the insulin sensitivity, the food cravings, the inflammation, the glucagon, and the satiety. So they are beneficial because they do all these things, but they're not natural. And that's the point that we're trying to drive home here tonight. So where did they come from, and why did we start using them? Well, way back in the day, I've been a dietitian for over 30 years, and I started using some of these drugs probably 20 years ago in patients with diabetes and prediabetes, because they are beneficial for all of those things I just checked off in the list. They were a diabetic medication that has morphed into something else, let's say. So back in the day, the drug that we used very commonly was one called Bydureon or Byetta. It was an injectable, just like the ones we have today, but it's a different formulation and it comes in a lower dose. And so it is a different medication. So here you can see it's exenatide, which is different than semaglutide, which we have in things like Ozempic and Wegovy.
This is so good.
And so they are different. They were used for different purposes, and they had very different results. The patients that we had on things like Bydureon back in the day didn't have these massive weight loss results that we're seeing today. So we get into now, and I hope this picture doesn't offend anybody, but everyone sees them all day long, every day on any social media. The weight loss piece of this has far overtaken the diabetes benefit when it comes to what people are focusing on. It has been just astronomically promoted by all the big speakers in the world. So the current medications that we're focusing on are these top four are the ones. So Ozempic and Wegovy are what we call semaglutide. That's the generic name for it. And Mounjaro and Zepbound are tirzepatide. The difference between these medications is that Ozempic and Mounjaro are specific only for diabetes, and Wegovy and Zepbound are specific for weight loss. They did this, the FDA approved this because they knew they'd be able to sell more, in my opinion, but they did this to target different audiences. The piece I want to keep in mind here is like Ozempic, for example, it has a 2.0 milligram max dose per week.
Okay.
Wegovy, for the weight loss, has a 2.4 milligram max dose per week. And I find it very interesting that the max dose is higher in people that are just working to lose their weight versus people who are trying to cure a chronic disease. But I'm going to point to these numbers later, so I wanted to point them out here a little bit earlier. The point that I like to drive home when I'm talking with my patients who come to me, I have at least half of the patients I see, if not more, come to me for weight loss. That is their main driver to come to see me. And when I have these conversations, I give them full informed consent. And I'm going to say, okay, if you just do diet and exercise, this is what you can expect. If you use supplements, this is what you can expect. If you use traditional medications like metformin, this is what you can expect. Or if you go on to these injectables or even the oral medications, this is what you can expect. And I would say at least 95% of my patients that are on this suffer with constipation. It's a real prominent problem for my patients. Nausea and vomiting are also extremely common when they're on these medications. But even more severe complications like gastroparesis is when the stomach actually cannot empty. So the food remains in the stomach for too long. This is why you'll hear, like, if you're going to have a surgery, they now ask on the standard form, are you on one of these medications? Because you have to stop it at least 2 weeks prior to your surgery, because you probably still have food in your stomach because of the delayed gastric emptying side effect, or
Man,
it's
that is
actually the
crazy.
true
This is crazy.
pathophysiology of these medications, that's why they work, is that you hold food in your stomach longer.
Wow.
Ileus can be a problem. This is a paralyzation of a portion of the intestinal tract, and this can actually be a fatal complication that can occur. But I'm also now starting to see in some of my patients complaints of vision loss, definitely seeing things like bone loss and muscle wasting. And so I always like to point out side effects of these medications are real, and therefore exploring alternatives is something that we're really pretty passionate about. So I stole this off of Ben. You can all see Ben's lovely bald head over here. He's in Korea right now speaking for Unicity at the moment, and he shared these with me. But when we look at the studies that have been done on these medications and the results that they're having, they're pretty impactful. So this one was a 2-year study of the weight loss version of these medications. And what they were looking at was the food noise. What are people craving? What are they experiencing? And what is this resulting in when it comes to the benefit of taking these medications? So at week 20, they actually compared it here to baseline. The 0 number here is baseline. If they had their normal day-to-day prior to any medication cravings, they were at 0. When they started the medication, they had a decrease, obviously, in their food noise, which was great. I'm sure all these people were losing weight.
Sure, yeah.
Week 52, that crept back just a little bit. But by year 2, week 104, they were pretty much back to baseline. And this has been probably the biggest problem that we've seen with this medication. And I'm going to dive a little deeper into this. One of other Ben's slides that I just pulled here too was, from these injections with the additional risks, there was a total return of sweet cravings at about the 2-year mark. And so they're not foolproof when it comes to having long-term lasting effect. So what happens when these people stop these medications? And this study goes in and it shows the fact that, yes, over about 2 years, again, this is a 2-year study that they looked at, people were actually starting to stop the medication for a variety of reasons. They didn't feel good, they stopped being effective, they weren't covered by insurance anymore, whatever the reason, these people stopped actually taking these medications. And what happened? And so in this study, they did a 68-week treatment phase. And during this 68 weeks, they noticed significant weight loss compared to placebo, which is sitting up here. So they lost a significant amount of weight. I'm going to just say 50 pounds. Let's say this group of people lost on average 50 pounds in 68 weeks.
Okay.
And then they stopped the medication. And what happened? They regained about 80% of the weight back. Let's say they still had a 10% differential here or a 10-pound differential when it comes back. So they lost 10 pounds overall in this phase, in this period, but regained 40 pounds of it back. Well, what part did they gain back? If we know, and I didn't share this slide, I should have put it in here, but we know that about 40% of the weight loss is not fat. It is lean body mass, whether it be bone or muscle or connective tissue. 40% of this weight loss, clear down here in this 50 pounds, was not fat mass. Well, we all know when we regain muscle, especially as or gain weight, especially if we're a little bit older, it's really hard to regain muscle mass and nearly impossible to regain bone mass. And so there is this reminder of mind the gap. If you lose the weight and regain the weight, it may not be beneficial in the long run because overall percent body fat is the same or worse, while muscle mass and bone density are worse. But GLP-1 hormone is good. This is the one thing I want to say. I'm not villainizing GLP-1 hormone here. GLP-1 hormone is really, really important and really, really beneficial when it comes to what we want to do to improve metabolic health. Ben, thankfully, has actually conducted studies in his lab at BYU on this product. And that's such good support of this product is because they found with the Unimate, for example, there was a 60% increase in natural production of GLP-1. Huge, huge benefit that we haven't really seen with any other natural supplement out there. The balance that Trent was talking about also is extremely important. The cells in the intestine that actually produce GLP-1 are called L cells. And in Ben's study, it shows that it highlights the importance of dietary fiber, particularly fiber, also protein, to maintain L cell secretion and intestinal integrity. Again, Trent was talking about that. If you have leaky gut or dysbiosis or something along those lines, fiber, prebiotic, probiotic fiber is essential, and that's exactly what balance does for us. But I have two questions, and I've asked these questions to Ben, and I'm going to ask them here. Not that anybody else is going to have the answer either, because we don't, maybe some, but my two questions are this. Number one, can someone become resistant to these GLP-1 exogenous medications and problems? It is a peptide hormone. Peptide hormones that I mentioned earlier are insulin. We know for a fact you can become very resistant to these. I oftentimes, when I'm talking with my patients, I talk to them about, I use beer as the example. You know, at the beginning of an alcohol, one beer will get you a buzz. After a while, you have to have 2 beers and so on and so forth. And that's because you become resistant or tolerant to the effects of the alcohol. Same thing happens with insulin. Same thing happens with GLP-1, in my opinion. I asked Ben this question. We don't for sure know the answer, but you can become resistant. And this is really kind of proven because patients need to increase the dose over time in order for it to remain effective. It's just like having to increase the number of beers you need for a buzz. You have to increase the amount that you're giving of these medications to keep it effective. Same with insulin. My insulin dependent diabetics, if they stay on a high carbohydrate diet, if they're snacking on sugar all day, they give more insulin, they become more resistant, they need more and more and more insulin over time. Again, I am not villainizing any of these hormones. They're all very, very helpful and critical for health for a healthy life, but we want them in ideal amounts. We don't want them in superhuman amounts. We don't want them above and beyond what they want them to be. And really, when I asked Ben this question, he said, there's no proof, but it's extremely likely that the resistant effect is possible for GLP-1. So my next question is when I give a man, I use this as an example, when I give a man testosterone replacement therapy, it shuts down the testes. He can't make testosterone anymore. Does the same thing happen when I give somebody GLP-1 agonist? Will they stop producing their own GLP-1 hormone? We don't know. The same thing happens with thyroid. If I give someone a thyroid medication, because there's plenty of thyroid hormone in the body, the thyroid doesn't have to make its own thyroid anymore. Does this happen with GLP-1 when we give it exogenously? Again, Ben's answer to this was, I don't know, but it's likely. And so the question then is,
more studies.
Does it return to normal after we've given exogenous?
We're giving medication. We don't have studies for it.
We don't know.
We don't know
Does
these
boosting endogenous, meaning natural production inside the body, does boosting GLP-1 help people come off of these meds and return the body to normal and have the ability to make its own GLP-1 like it's supposed to? And again, my answer and Ben's answer, and I've seen it in practice with my own patients, yes. If a man wants to come off testosterone, I give him something like clomiphene or HCG, and it helps them make their own more. That's where this product really can come into play, is that we can help you make more of your own, even if you shut off your own production by using one of these medications for a period of time.
Wow.
The answer, though, is we just don't know. There's no research out there to prove it, but there's certainly good theories and certainly good questions to leave to the research arm of my team. So just to kind of drive it home, there's two options here. We have synthetic and we have natural. The problem with the synthetic, in my opinion and Ben's opinion, is they are superhuman doses. Yes, you can microdose these and still get great benefit without the side effects. Most doctors, most providers do not microdose these medications. You can do it. I encourage people to avoid superhuman dosing no matter what it is they do. Remember, the side effects are real. They are something that we do want to try to avoid. Things like the vision loss, the gastroparesis, the loss of muscle, the osteoporosis, etc. Now, if we do it naturally, we can optimize these levels, and they're not going to be superhuman doses. We're not going to be able to elevate GLP-1 to the same extent that you can with a medication, but you can optimize them, just like we can optimize a whole lot of things like in our metabolic health with diet, lifestyle, and other supplements. There's few to no side effects. We're still going to improve our insulin sensitivity and our glucagon. And yes, you can even do this without any supplements. You don't necessarily use the Feel Great system. It just makes it easier. but even just improving protein, lowering insulin, and increasing fiber naturally can improve GLP-1 in a very natural way. So my opinion is, why risk it? There's no reason not to try this product first. It does come with a 90-day money-back guarantee, like the crannies had mentioned before. And so my attitude is why risk it? The conversations I have with my patients on a one-to-one basis is start with the one that is going to do the least harm, if not ones that might carry some risk. There you go, Trent. Oops, there's that one. Thank you, everybody.
So wait, Lindsay, I want you to leave that up for just a moment here. Somebody needs to get in touch with Lindsay Venn. If they have questions, get blood work done, if they need an expert to look at their situation, maybe they need a second opinion, maybe they don't have a medical provider. Lindsay, they can look you up on Venn Integrative Medicine and reach out and get.
Absolutely. I'm looking for clients as we speak. So
All right. Well, guys,
Well,
I
thank you.
cannot
You're welcome.
recommend anybody more
Absolutely.
highly than I would recommend Lindsay. If
Absolutely.
you are confused about your blood work,
That's
if you're
awesome,
stuck,
yeah.
if you're frustrated, if you're trying to improve your health, or for any reason need a good medical professional to evaluate.
Get rid of that. There we go. Hey, thank y'all so much for being on. So you are so very welcome. I am so thankful that this was helpful. That's part of what Healthy Together and Feeling Great is all about. So maybe you have questions after watching this. I'm going to open up my chats again. Everything here, it looks like. So if you've got questions about it, I do the Feel Great system. That's one of the things, if you watch me, that's what I'm drinking right here. It is an incredibly simple system. Doing the Feel Great system. And like I said, this is going to be over on our page saved, so you can come back and listen to it. We'll come back and answer more questions about it. The great part about it, it really is, and I'm trying to look for, this is so you guys can see that it really is this simple as these packets right here. And if you use that hyperlink right there, or the QR code down there, or our webpage, if you go to kenhagler.com or healthyalaska.live, you can get on our page, learn more about what we do, and get plugged into that. So thank y'all so much for being here. Don't hesitate. And if you haven't subscribed, make sure to check out all the videos that we've got every single day. Go get the day, make it golden.